We're all familiar with glitches in video games, like Missingo in Pokemon and the swing in GTA 4. In speedruns, players exploit these glitches dramatically to shorten the game completion time, sometimes reducing a 3-hour game to just 4 minutes. Let's explore one of those games further. Welcome to Ghoul School. The speedrun begins by moving to the right and performing a damage boost on the purple aliens to bypass them. These aliens have large hitboxes, so precise jumping is essential. Next, we enter a room filled with bats, which we use to boost ourselves forward and navigate through the room more quickly. After that, we ascend a pair of stairs. We then encounter an alien near the top of the stairs, and we must perform a precise jump to get past him. This jump requires incredible precision, both in the damage boost and the positioning of the player, after which we execute another maneuver to get past 4 more aliens. Once we clear them, we jump into the next screen and fall down the stairs, allowing us to skip the need to walk down them. We then execute additional damage boost from a few more aliens before reaching the locker rooms. The locker rooms contain 2 key elements: the first weapon, which is the towel, and our first random obstacle, the showers. These showers operate on a global timer, meaning their activation patterns depend on when you enter the locker room. The randomized pattern is generated at the start of the game and remains consistent if you reach the showers at the same times. This can be tricky due to the alien damage boost and stair skips. Once we navigate past the showers, our next challenge is the gymnasium, which is filled with bouncing basketballs. These basketball cycles start when you enter the room, but they are much easier to maneuver around compared to the other obstacles. You can even use them to boost your speed as you move through the room. It's important to note that you can remove all the basketballs by interacting with the visitor scoreboard, making the room significantly easier. After exiting through the next door, we will find ourselves in the weights room, which contains 2 powerful aliens. Careful maneuvering is required to get hit by their throwing attacks to pass them without dying. This maneuver is very tight and can easily jeopardize your progress in the game. The objective in this room is to grab the spring shoes, which will allow us to break the game. Once we have the spring shoes, we will intentionally die to the nearest enemy. This will respawn us at the door to the gymnasium. Instead of going back through that door, we will walk into the wall facing it, open the menu, select the spring shoes, and buffer an input while facing away from the wall. This sequence allows the player to glitch through the wall, resulting in a wrong warp that sends us to the game's default room. This places us in the ideal position to obtain the next item. We continue moving right, using the enemies as boost along the way. Eventually we find ourselves in a hallway leading to our next destination. This hallway features 4 green zombie enemies that deal significant damage. To navigate through without dying, we can execute an invincibility glitch. To perform this glitch, we enter the locker by pressing up while wearing the spring shoes. If we switch to the sneakers after entering the locker, our character becomes invincible for the remainder of the game, effectively turning it into a walking simulator. Next, we arrive at the cafeteria, where we pick up the sandwich. This is the only item that can help us finish the game in our current state. Next, we perform another wrong warp, similar to the one we executed in the weights room. But this time, we move left until we reach the first door, which we will enter. This leads us to the next challenge, the ceiling door. To enter this door, we usually need the suction cups, which is another item in the game. However, we can bypass this requirement by pressing up on the D-pad. While this may seem simple, we also have to jump up to the door, making several factors that could also cause us to fail. Once we enter the door, we get to the crawl space. We should keep the spring shoes equipped, as they will help us move faster in tight areas. Jumping while wearing the spring shoes in this section increases the distance traveled by 1 pixel for each jump. Next, we encounter the floor Siips, which may remind some players of Siips in Mega Man, as shown here. To perform these Siips, we need to equip the sneakers and walk against the wall, then pause the game and switch back to the spring shoes. This action pushes us into the wall. Once inside, we should tap the left button instead of holding it down to avoid reaching full walking speed, which would otherwise cause the character to stop instead of zipping. However, due to the random nature of this exploit, the Siips may not always be successful. In the crawl space, there are 3 Siips that need to be completed, so executing all 3 without any mistakes is quite an impressive feat. Upon reaching the end of the crawl space, we encounter the door that leads to the air ducts, which features the hardest trick in the game, the air duct skip. This trick saves 3 seconds and allows us to bypass a small labyrinth that players would normally have to navigate. The air duct skip is incredibly precise. If it's not executed correctly, players will zip through the wall and fall to their death, ending the run. It functions similarly to other Siips, but requires the player to release the right input on the D-pad frame perfectly to succeed. To gain height inside of the wall, the player needs to jump. Once their head is inside of the ceiling, they can zip out and enter the door that leads to the final stretch of the game. The last portion of the game is fairly linear, where the player navigates above monsters using the piping systems. Eventually, they arrive at the final door, which leads to the final boss. This door has unusual properties similar to the ceiling door described earlier. If players position themselves at the edge of the door and hold up plus right on the D-pad, they can enter the boss room without having to defeat the flying heart enemy. This leads us to the final room, the boiler room, which contains the final boss. For this encounter, equip the towel and press B to attack while alternating between pressing left and right to land more hits. Once the boss's health reaches halfway on the last health bar, switch to the sandwich and finish the boss off. The last task is to free the captured girl, which can be done by jumping into the hole and tossing a sandwich on the barrier. And with that, Ghoul School was completed in 4 minutes and 6 seconds. A short but incredibly fun speedrun. I'd like to give a huge shout out to JKL and EndySWE for helping me research this video. Both of them are skilled players holding first and second place respectively. You should definitely follow them on Twitch as they stream their attempts. You can find them in the description. Who knows? Maybe we'll see a sub 4 minute time one day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.